The Department of Homeland Security has made an arrest of a wanted terrorist. This is someone who is wanted on terrorism charges for being a member of a terrorist organization. He's accused of distributing terrorist propaganda, calling for jihad, as well as recruiting terrorists to join in jihad. He's from Uzbekistan. The Department of Homeland Security arrested him just a few days ago in Kansas. Now, this individual entered the United States illegally in February of 2023. We know that was a problem under the Biden administration. People that were wanted for terrorism, that were on watch lists, were able to cross the southern border and then sneak away into the country. He was apprehended by Border Control and then released by the Biden administration back into America. Not only that, he's later granted work authorization by the Biden administration. And then in Pennsylvania, he is granted a commercial driver's license by the government of Pennsylvania. So this man, a wanted terrorist from Uzbekistan, enters America illegally, is released, and then is able to work as a commercial truck driver, crossing the country, a critical part of the United States infrastructure because of the failures of the Biden administration. He was arrested by ICE on November 9th while driving a truck. But this isn't just an isolated story about one person wanted on terrorism charges that was able to fool people and get a commercial driver's license. There is somewhat of a crisis within the issuance of CDLs, who they are being issued to, and whether or not that is the way it should go. You're hearing about California canceling 17,000 CDLs because the people they were issued to may have had work authorization at some time, but no longer do, yet they still have an active driver's license to drive large trucks. Imagine, you were talking about 40 tons of steel driving down the highway. There is a great responsibility that our nation's truck drivers have. They keep America moving. They make sure that you can go to the grocery store and get the food and the goods that you need. Anything in this country that you go to buy, you can thank truck drivers because of the infrastructure that they make sure keeps moving. But yet, California is having to cancel 17,000 CDLs because of this issue. We're talking about this arrest that was made in Kansas from an Uzbekistani national that has come to America illegally, was able to obtain a CDL in Pennsylvania, and was picked up by ICE this week. This is a wanted terrorist from Uzbekistan. He is a member of a known terrorist organization and was accused of distributing terrorist propaganda, calling for jihad online, as well as recruiting terrorists to join the jihadi movement. That is not someone that should be a crucial part of our nation's infrastructure. You take that another step further. You've seen all the hard work that the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, was having to deal with during the shutdown, keeping planes in the air, making sure that people were safe in America's skies. Well, they also were shifting and proposed a new rule because of this crisis on the requirements to get commercial driver's licenses, CDLs. A federal appeals court in Washington, D.C. blocked that rule, saying, one, they didn't quite go through the procedural process that was necessary. Two, they failed to make their case that these restrictions that were aimed at keeping illegal immigrants from getting commercial driver's licenses statistically would keep people more safe. That's the argument of the court here. Then the administration failed to make the argument that restricting illegal immigrants' access to commercial driver's license would keep Americans safe. It's absurd. That's where we are. I want to take your phone calls on this as well. George is calling from Arkansas on line 1. George, you told our screener you're a truck driver. I want to thank you for that. America needs you. You are a crucial part of our country. George, you're on the air.
I've been a driver since 1988. This has been a problem for over 10 years. We've been yelling about it, and unfortunately, it's getting national-wide press because people are dying every month from this crisis. And yes, it's a crisis because they don't know how to read our road signs, like that person in Florida from California, CDL. He couldn't read a road sign. That's bad.
That's right. And George, what George is referencing is there was someone who had a CDL from California in Florida, made an illegal U-turn, was not familiar with the signs, didn't know what was going on, made an illegal U-turn on an interstate, and a van ended up slamming into it, killing the occupants of that vehicle. That was someone who was here illegally that got a CDL in California. There's also a crisis of these CDL mills where looser state regulations allow for people to get CDLs that aren't necessarily meeting the requirements. I should not be able to go out and drive an 18-wheeler right now. I understand that there is training, that it is difficult. It is a very large, important piece of machinery that moves America. I understand that if I wanted to go do that, I need to go train, learn, and get certified and get that commercial driver's licenses. And there is a lot of responsibility that would go with that. But yet there are people trying to cut corners. And so you see these CDL mills, and you see people in California that are, or in states that are a lot more loose about getting people jobs that are not authorized to work here. And this is a crisis. And I think that Secretary Duffy is doing the right thing, but we also have to expose what's going on. This is not just happening overnight. This has been, as our caller George said, something that the truck drivers have been talking about for a decade of how bad it's gotten. Let's go to MJ calling on line 2 from New York. MJ, you're on Seculo.
Good morning. First-time caller. I do have a CDL license since 2009, but my information is of back in 2004.
Yes.
I had tenants, and before that I was searching for housing to purchase, and I found that my tenants had license plates from PA, although they lived in New Jersey. And this was common, very common. And these tenants informed me that, yes, they were illegal, and that one day they were playing a game, and coming home, they were pulled over, and there's quite a few of them, and the police asked for their license, and they handed over a Mexican license, which was retained, but the vehicle was not impounded. They were not arrested. And that's my story I want to share. I was puzzled at the fact that Pennsylvania was giving licenses to illegals.
Well, and that is specifically where the CDL from this individual was from. It was from Pennsylvania. We have seen what is now becoming this crisis where states that have Democrat leadership, that have different thoughts on the way that our immigration policy should be put forward, and then have wanted to fight the Trump administration or the policies of the previous Trump administration. That then when Biden was in office, they tried to go so far against what the strong border protection that was put in place from 2016 to 2020 and had all these strong reversals. So it's a problem of our leaders doing in many cases. Yes, these individuals are coming here not legally, breaking the rules, but they're also being allowed to do it because they are able to get a government-issued commercial driver's license. They're able to be released by the Border Patrol in 2023 when this individual, if they had done any sort of background check after he was picked up by Border Patrol, he would not have been released into the interior of the United States. He was wanted by Uzbekistan for terrorism. So this is not just something that which the president and the administration has done a great job. Border crossings are at record lows. But isn't, as we see as well, that it's just border closed and then the people that are being deported that are here that are criminally illegal and the problem is fixed. This has found its way into areas of our society that we would never even think of. When you are driving down the interstate with your family and you see a semi-truck beside you, 40 tons of steel in cargo, in diesel, you're not thinking to yourself, the license that individual has to drive that very awesome and impressive piece of machinery, he shouldn't have. It was issued by the state of California, which their restrictions weren't what they should be. That person driving that machine is wanted for terrorism. That's not how this should work.